Hello everyone, welcome back to performance engineering session. In this today's session, we'll be discussing about resiliency. Okay, so basically we need to validate resiliency of the application at various layers of the system. So what I mean layers here is hardware layer, the deployment layer, and third one is the application core layer. Okay, there are three layers. Okay. But in this session, we will be discussing at the hardware layer. So even when we say hardware layer, it may be at the CPU, memory, network, and I/O, but we don't validate the resiliency at the hardware component level. Okay, so basically we deal at the VM instance itself. Okay, so basically what we do, we have an application which is deployed across multiple VM instances. When load is being generated across all the VM instances, we try to see how exactly application behaves when one of the node crashes. Okay, so this experiment we do it in the GCP. Okay, so here this is the GCP console. Before we start conducting the experiment, basically we need to understand overall system. Okay, so we can start with the load balancing because this is the first layer as far as transaction processing is concerned. So basically from the client, we always hit the load balancer. From load balancer, request will be diverted to the various nodes in the system, right? So that's why we will start from a load balancer. Okay, basically this is the load balancer. Name of the load balancer is my HTTP LB01. Okay, so in this load balancer, it will be connected to instance group. It is my instance group -1. This is the name of the instance group. So again, the instance group will have multiple VM instances. In this case, we have two VM instances. So when basically load balancer will divert the traffic to these two VM instances. And these are the IP addresses of each VM instance here. So in each VM instance, we have HTTP server, and we are generating the load and by hitting the default page of the HTTP server. So when we deploy HTTP server, this is the default page we get it. So basically we hit this particular web page to generate load on the VM instances. So basically, so these instances will get a request to load this particular page. So not this page, previous one. Okay. So that is the overall setup. Okay. So and also one other thing is basically we need a some tool to generate the load, right? Okay. So here we make use of JMeter. JMeter is the load testing tool, and JMeter can be used to generate load on the overall application. Okay, so this is the load balancer URL, and we are hitting the default web page which is deployed in the VM instances through this load balancer URL. Okay. And also here we have configured incremental load. By the way, for this particular experiment, incremental load may not be required, but we have created this, and we try to make use of existing session. Okay. And also this is scheduled for 31 minutes, and we need not conduct the test until 31st minute. Okay, basically we can stop the test whenever we are able to conduct the whenever we are able to complete the experiment. Okay, so that's how it is. Okay, so and also another thing is here we are generating the generating the load in the non-GUI mode because JMeter can be run in both GUI and non-GUI mode. We make use of non-GUI mode to generate the load because in non-GUI mode we can generate the load effectively. Okay, so it doesn't require much hardware resources to generate the load. Okay, so basically this is the command to start the execution in the JMeter, start the execution from the JMeter, the non-GY mode. Okay, so let us start the test. Okay, test is started. Okay. Yeah. So if you see here, this is the throughput. I mean, number of hits, number of hits on the server. Okay, 3789 hits. Uh, we did it 3789 requests in 19 minutes. That is the one, and this is the average response time, and this is the minimum response time. This is the maximum response time, and this is the error rate. Okay, so basically here we are focusing on this particular aspect. Okay, to see is there any error occurs. Okay, so when one of the instance gets crashed during the execution, so that is the kind of experiment we conduct now. Okay, so here, okay, so just we are refreshing. So yeah, so what happened now? Um, uh, as we know, it looks like auto scaling got triggered. So why auto scaling got triggered? Maybe because whatever the load we have generated, right? That load must have made CPU utilization in any one of the server goes about 25%. Okay, sorry, 40%. So that is the reason why it created another instance here. Okay, now we can see 3 instances. By the way, this is the case of auto scaling. So as we know, in cloud, so when auto scaling is basically enabled, so what happens? Auto scaling is enabled, then based on certain conditions, so it is going to create instances in order to accommodate the additional user load that is getting generated. Okay, so now we can see there are 3 instances. Okay, now so as discussed, so what we can do now, so here, so definitely there must be a load on these 3 VM instances. Okay, now basically okay, we can try to delete these 2 instances. Okay, so delete this and also delete this. So what we have done, so while test is going on, and while load is being generated on these 3 instances, okay, so we have deleted these 2 um, VM instances. What is 211 and 213? These are the 2 instances that we have deleted. Now, okay, if I go here, okay, so at this point of time, you don't see any, there are 2 errors are there here. So when did we get this error? So basically there are 2 errors. Apart from these 2 errors, we don't see any issues uh, at the load execution console. Okay, so basically this is the console where we can see the errors and all. Okay, so now, okay, so what we need to understand here is, so so there are 2 aspects we could see here. So one is when we started the test, we have seen only 2 instances. Okay, so 2 instances were up and running. So we started the test. Load got generated on both the instances. So since CPU utilization on one of the instances went above 40%, okay, it created another instance. So there were 3 instances were there. So then what we have done, so we deleted 2 instances from the instance group. Okay, basically we deleted both the instances. Okay, both the instances. So from the load generation perspective, so we could see there are 2 failures. Okay, so now why these 2 failures? Okay, that is the basically that's what we need to understand now. Okay, so we can stop the test at this point of time because we have conducted the experiment. Okay, so our experiment is over. So let us stop the test and let us try to understand what kind of error we have got during the execution. So to start the test, so Control C. So now we have stopped the test. Okay, so we stop the test and we go to, basically this is the location where it writes JMeter output file. Okay, we'll go to this location and check what these two errors are. Okay, it is C colon. This is the file. Okay, so we will go here and open here. Okay, so we can search by false. Okay, so because yeah, so there is one error which is 502. That is one error, and another error is also 502. Basically, we are getting a bad gateway. Okay, so basically we have got this error. Okay, so when we deleted instances from the uh, system. Okay, so our application has application had 3 nodes. Okay, so we have deleted 2 instances. Okay, so during that point of time you could see there are 2 failures were there. Okay, so and both the transactions got failed with the error 502. So as we all know, so basically the 502 errors we get it for multiple reasons. So in this case, probably, so we are getting this error because our load balancer is not getting the proper response from the VM instances. Maybe those 2 VM instances must be processing some transaction. Okay, so at the same time when we deleted the node. Okay, so for that particular for that particular response. Okay, uh, load balancer might have got invalid data. Okay, so that is the reason why load balancer might have thrown 502 error to the client. Okay, so this is what happened. So now looks like the amount of load that is being handled by those 2 VM instances are very less. That's why we got only 2 errors. Okay, so if at all load is high on those VM instances, then looks like the chances of percentage of failures must be more than what we are seeing right now. Okay, so how do we handle this? So basically here we have to build a retry logic either at the client level or at the load balancer level. So whenever we get these kind of errors, so we try to retry the same transaction. Okay, okay, maybe I think we can do retry. So that is one way in which we can handle these kind of failures. Okay, so okay, just to summarize, we had 2 instances and we generated the load on those 2 instances through the load balancer. So while test is running, we try to kill or stop one of the instance. And when we looked into the JMeter console, we could see there were 2 failures were generated exactly at the same time. So then we saw what kind of errors it was. So those were 502 bad gateway errors. Okay, so and we suspected that this should be the reason for this. And also how do we handle these kind of situations in production? So basically by implementing the retry logics. Okay, so that is one of the way. So okay, yep, and one more thing is here we stopped the or we terminated the VM instances manually, but in real time, basically we can make use of tools. Okay, there are many chaos engineering tools. We can make use of those tools in order to bring down the VM instances or any other parameters. Okay, thank you very much for watching this video. So we'll continue to create a few more case studies, something similar to this in cloud. Okay, thank you very much for watching this video again. Thank you. Bye.